2017 started off with a bang. Clemson beat Bama as New Year's bells rang. Serena won a major with a baby on board. And when it mattered most, the Patriots scored. March Madness took hold, and though UNC won, the whole world was told of LeVar Ball and his sons. Rafa and Roger, they came back on top, and a couple of rookies showed powerful pop. The NBA marveled as the playoff seas parted. Cavs Dubs Part 3 foretold when the year started. The Warriors won, and the Penguins did too. But you don't really care about hockey, do you? With hoops trades galore, the summer was wild. And with rumors of juiced balls, homers flew miles. Ice Cube's Big Three had 4-pointers that mostly missed. McGregor and Mayweather traded words and then fists. The football season began, and though Cap didn't play, the commander-in-chief fought the league anyway. As Houston recovered from their hurricane plight, the Stros won the series. Ben Reiter was right. USA Soccer missed the World Cup. But Tiger is back and seems to be heating up. This sports year was lit, and you'll see what I mean when I say get ready for 2018.
Welcome to SI Now. It's Monday, December 18th, and we are in the full swing of holiday season. This week, we're looking back at 2017. I'm Robin Lundberg. He's Ryan Aselta. It was perhaps the best year of sports in recent memory. Today, we begin our countdown with the best athletes of the past 12 months. Lots to choose from, Ryan.
Yeah, plenty of good performances in 2017. This wasn't easy. All these votes that we tallied throughout the last couple weeks here at SI, and it came down to a very tight vote down the stretch.
Coming in at number 5, we have Kevin Durant of the Golden State Warriors. In case you were slumbering for the entire year, he helped lead them to the championship. Though some people would argue for him to be higher on the list. He had a big shot in the finals to win it. Others would say, hey, you just accomplished exactly what everyone thought when you went to the 73-win Warriors.
Yeah, he went to the Warriors, was supposed to win. He did that, but his performance in the playoffs probably put him over the top. He averaged 28 points per game in the postseason, 55% shooting, which kind of elevated him to this status of one of the best athletes of 2017. Number 4, another kind of no-brainer here. That's Tom Brady, who helped lead the Patriots to that Super Bowl title, coming back from 28-3 deficit to beat the Falcons to win his 5th Super Bowl title at 39 years old. That's really what did it for me, Robin, to give him the votes. He's doing it at 39, approaching 40, winning Super Bowls. Another guy you could say, yeah, he's on the Patriots. Of course he's going to win Super Bowls. But what he's doing late in his career, the performance late in that game, that puts him in the top 5.
Yeah, there was nothing Tom Brady needed to do or needed to accomplish. His spot was already solidified, but it sort of just adds to the legend because if you were rooting against the Patriots, and I was, they were down. It felt like they were out, but I guess you can't say that about this squad.
No, absolutely not, no.
At number 3, we've got somebody who did it in the collegiate ranks and then the pros. That was Deshaun Watson. Of course, leading Clemson to the national title, is a first-round pick, and in 7 games gets 19 touchdowns before, unfortunately, going down with a knee injury.
Yeah, this is kind of the complete year look at Deshaun Watson. He leads the Tigers to their first title since 1981, but he also carries it over very quickly. Surprisingly, I mean, he was the story of the first few weeks of the NFL season, the 19 touchdowns in 7 weeks before he blew out his knee, the first-round pick. Great start to his career. Great end to 2017 for him with the NFL performance, and a great start, obviously, in his bowl game championship.
Yeah, I mean, there were some questions as to where he would be drafted, and I always wondered, everyone was telling me that Alabama had this pro defense, and he basically single-handedly took them down, and then when he got to the pros, showed what he was made of.
He shredded a pro defense in the NFL as well. Number 2, Jose Altuve, unbelievable, led the Astros to his first World Series title in franchise history. The spark plug, this guy was the heart and soul of a Houston team that kind of captured America with everything that happened with the hurricane in Houston. He led the revival of the city, along, of course, with J.J. Watt, were our sports persons of the year for Sports Illustrated. But Altuve was the heart and soul of that Astros World Series team, and he does it at, 5'7.5" if he's wearing big cleats. Amazing athlete and an amazing contribution to a World Series winner.
He was definitely my favorite baseball player to watch this past year, and it really reminds you sometimes we get caught up with the guys who can really hit the ball, and of course that's super important. I mean, the single best outcome of any at-bat is a home run. But Altuve impacts the game in a number of different ways. He's got power in the bat, he's got speed on the base pass, and you saw all that in display, both in winning the MVP and then going on to win the World Series.
Yeah, and seeing him jumping in front of the Houston dugout when his teammates were scoring runs, you knew just how much he meant to that Astros run that paid off for a World Series.
Finally, at number 1, we have Cristiano Ronaldo. For his placement at number 1 on our list, Cristiano Ronaldo is our adrenaline performer, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Once again displaying his overall brilliance, Ronaldo has now scored at least 50 goals in a calendar year between club and country for a record 7th consecutive year. He did everything. I mean, the guy, I've argued for him over Messi the last several years, and people have laughed at me. Well, this year was sort of his coronation because of what he did not only for his club team, but his country team in World Cup qualifying as well.
Yeah, I mean, he wins La Liga title, wins the Champions League title, wins the Ballon d'Or award for breaking Messi's record.
FIFA
for that
Player
award.
of the Year as well.
I mean, he did it all. And when it comes to the complete package of an athlete, it really, can you argue against Cristiano Ronaldo? Though the voting was close, he only got 2 more points in our voting ahead of Altuve. It shows how much people appreciated Altuve's year. But when it comes to athletes, yeah, Ronaldo's right at the top.
Maybe they could make a better bust for him now.
Yeah.
So let's recap the top athletes of the year. Number 1, Cristiano Ronaldo, followed by Jose Altuve, Deshaun Watson, Tom Brady, and Kevin Durant.
I know we just assigned a year-end award, but 2017, it isn't over yet. For one, there's a lot more college football to be played. Here's a look at some of the biggest bowl games and storylines over the next 2 weeks.
We all know about the New Year's Six, but lots of teams playing in other bowl games, of course. To go over the best of the rest, I'm here with college football analyst Pete Mundo and Eric Single. Let's start with the Camping World Bowl. Biletnikoff Award winner James Washington and high-flying Oklahoma State against the stout Virginia Tech defense. Pete, who wins out, offense versus defense?
I think the offense wins out. This is the last game that you're going to see Mason Rudolph to James Washington, one of the best connections in all of college football at quarterback wide receiver, kind of overshadowed by the team in their own state, Baker Mayfield and the Oklahoma Sooners. But this was a very explosive offense. Mason Rudolph actually led the country in passing yards over Baker Mayfield. People seem to sometimes forget that. So I'm really looking forward to the game, and I think that the Virginia Tech defense, they don't see the kind of Big 12 offenses like Oklahoma State is going to present them. It's going to cause that defense a lot of trouble.
The problem that Pete sort of laid out is that if you try to take away James Washington, Oklahoma State has 3 or 4 other receivers that can burn you for 80-yard touchdowns. Marcel Aitman, Jalen McCleskey, Dylan Stoner. Mason Rudolph has a million different tools that he can hit, and I haven't even mentioned the running backs that they use in their passing game. So Virginia Tech doesn't deal with that, with the exception of maybe Clemson in the ACC as far as the weapons they deal with. And Josh Jackson, who is a promising talent at quarterback for them, is not going to be able to keep up.
Next up, we have the Belk Bowl, Wake Forest, Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher not going to be coaching due to recruiting and other business. Will that have any significance, Eric?
I think the Belk Bowl is really sort of a reset for Texas A&M. There's so much about this year that they would love to throw in the trash. Their quarterback situation is still very much in flux, and I think their identity won't be decided until February when we get the new signing day class in. But Jimbo will be watching to sort of see what he has. Texas A&M has a couple different quarterbacks that were promising, so Wake Forest is in for a test.
For these guys, think about it. If you're on that Texas A&M team, you're essentially looking at that as it's a tryout. You know, there's going to be a whole new 2-deep come spring ball. And this is the first chance for Jimbo Fisher to see these guys in action with his own 2 eyes, evaluate the tape. So if you're a player on this Texas A&M team, I expect these guys to come out. And even though the season was disappointing, their head coach was fired, this is like day 1 of practice freshman year for all these guys. You're trying to prove yourself. You only get 1 chance at a first impression, and I think Texas A&M is going to play really hard in that game.
Next up, we got the Liberty Bowl. 2 coaches in Matt Campbell at Iowa State and Mike Norvell at Memphis. They've both been rising up the ranks and apparently turned down maybe some overtures from bigger programs. Pete, why do you think these two coaches are willing to stay at the less known programs, I guess, if you will?
Well, the money's now getting better because it's just a trickle-down effect across all of college football. And you have Matt Campbell signing a 6-year deal worth more than $20 million. I mean, that's pretty good money. That's reason enough to stay anywhere. So I think you have these two guys are realizing that why go to a place, whether it's a Tennessee or, a Texas A&M, where if you don't reach ridiculous expectations, you're out of work in 3 to 4 years. It just goes to show you it's not about chasing that top dollar. It's about finding the top dollar with the top job. And guys like Matt Campbell and Mike Norvell are realizing that.
For sure. I think it'll be a great showcase for both of their identities. Matt Campbell is very fundamental, focused, game by game. Iowa State has sort of taken on this workman-like personality. Memphis is flashy, high-flying. And Mike Norvell and Matt Campbell are both relatively young guys in coaching circles. So they know that they don't have to jump to the first offer. They can turn these programs into powerhouses in their own realm, their own definition of success. Iowa State is not going to push anyone out that wins 7 or 8 games a year and competes for the Big 12. So both of these guys will have plenty of opportunities down the line, but right now they're making programs in their image.
Let's go to the Cactus Bowl. You've got Josh Rosen and UCLA against a suspect K-State secondary. Eric, is there still something Rosen can do to elevate his draft status?
I think so. The Cactus Bowl is pretty far down the list of bowl importance rankings, but we saw Jared Goff totally strafe Air Force a couple of years ago in a bowl whose name is lost to history. But Goff was so good that everyone came out of that thinking, this guy looks like a #1 pick. And Kansas State's defense may be suspect, but it's just as suspect as most of the Pac-12 defenses that Josh Rosen faces. So how he limits mistakes and whether or not he gets that Bruins offense up into the 30, 40-point range, I think people will take account.
Looking at this Kansas State secondary, that was one of the worst in the Big 12. When you compare that to Kansas and Baylor and some of those places, that's pretty bad. I think he's looking at a 30 for 38 day. I think he's going to have a big day, 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, and Kansas State's getting better. They have a good freshman quarterback in Skylar Thompson who came on late in the season. But I think UCLA wins this game as Josh Rosen is showing off for what should be a ton of NFL scouts at, like Eric said, a pretty meaningless bowl game.
Let's make sure we remember the Alamo Bowl. You have some on the East Coast who may be seeing TCU and Stanford for the first time. Bryce Love, obviously a player to watch, but is there another player in this game to keep an eye on?
I think you look at TCU and you say running back Darius Anderson is a guy who didn't get a lot of credit for what he did in this TCU offense. This offense went from a high-flying passing offense the last couple of years under Trevon Boykin and then year 1 under Kenny Hill to really getting back to that running game. And it was Kyle Hicks who came back as the leading rusher, but Darius Anderson was a guy who ended up leading that team in rushing yards before getting hurt towards the end of the season. It looks like he's going to play in this game, and I think he's a guy that I'm going to be watching because the Stanford defense is really good, and if Anderson gives you that type of performance that he can, then this TCU team is going to go into the offseason without Kenny Hill. He graduates, really good freshman quarterback coming in Sean Robinson, and they have some reason to be very happy about what they have coming back in 2018.
What about Bryce Love, Eric? Is he the kind of guy who's going to translate to the pros?
Oh, 100%. His breakaway speed is unreal. He really had this reputation as sort of a straight line guy coming into this year, and now we've seen that there's no defense that he can't unpack and rip off huge gains on. I think he's developed into maybe not the multi-purpose Swiss Army knife that Christian McCaffrey was, but you don't sniff 2,000 yards by having just one thing you do well. He's truly special, and I think TCU's defense is a pretty solid test and a showcase for him to show a national audience what he can do.
There you have it, Pete Mundo, Eric Single, with the best of the rest outside the New Year's Six bowl games. I'm joined now by an English soccer legend, former Chelsea star, and current LA Galaxy left back, Ashley Cole. You played for Bruce Arena while he was head coach of the LA Galaxy. He had an unsuccessful return to the sidelines with the U.S. men's national team. How surprised are you that he was unable to get the team to qualify for the World Cup?
Again, I didn't take too notice of maybe how they were going before Bruce Arena came. I was a little bit sad to see how it went for him because as I said, I still get on with him, still speak to him, but yeah, it's just maybe this time in the season where the players weren't kind of fully fit. and it kind of went against them.
You played for some legendary coaches, Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho, and they've adapted their styles to keep their success going. There are critics of Arena who say the game has passed him by. What would you say to those people?
I'm not too sure. I think 100% you go from club football to international football, you have to change. Tactics, even mindset, whether you want to go young or keep with the veterans, because you need the bond there. Whether Bruce Arena, as you said, it went past him, I don't know. I thought he'd done a good job, to be honest, but again, the people will probably say he's not gone to a World Cup when we was kind of guaranteed to go there. So I think he knows maybe he might have made a few mistakes, but which manager doesn't? But for sure, he would have seen this as a failure, 100%, I know.
Now, you've played 2 seasons in the MLS, majority of your career in the Premier League. How does the MLS stack up against those leagues in Europe?
It's definitely up and coming. If I'm honest, I have to say he's not as fast, not as physical as the Premier League, but in terms of a brand, it's only been going 20 years, 25 years, something like this. So it's improving. The players are getting better. The fan base is getting huge. The stadiums are full. It's great atmospheres. But I think in a few years, yes, it can become one of the powerhouses of leagues.
I'm sure you know it's been more than 50 years since your home country last won the World Cup. Do you think they could take the title in Russia?
With the young players they have now, I have faith in them. I have confidence. They're playing Champions League football, which I think is a big bonus when you're going into World Cups. Players understand the value of winning, what it means to the country. But you know, there's a lot of great countries out there in terms of Germany and teams like this who understand and have been built to win. They always seem to be there. Teams like Spain always kind of turn up in tournaments. So it's going to be difficult for England, but I have faith they'll progress and do better than what my teams did.
You talk about your team. It feels like they've turned the page since your generation of stars. How do you think the current team compares to your heyday?
I think player for player, I'll say my team's better. But hopefully they can gain experience and like I said, like I mentioned, they're playing Champions League. They're stars in the Premier League now. So I think that they'll do better than what we did. I think they've been pushed into a team altogether where maybe we was kind of stop-start in terms of that, but they've been together from, I think, the age of 15. Some of these players have played together in national level. So I think in that sense, I think they'll go on and do better than what we did.
We talk about the passionate fans, and you see some of the passionate fans, you know, England fans even here in America, but over there for the World Cup, just how thirsty for real success in the World Cup tournament are the fans in England? Are they foaming at the mouth? What's going on?
Yeah, I think when World Cup or European Championships come about, the country stops, the flags come out, and it's all about the England national team. I think it's going to be difficult for the fans to understand that it's a new generation, is a new team, new manager, kind of a new philosophy. So they're itching for success, but whether they can do it, I'm not 100% sure, but I think they've just got to be patient.
Ashley Cole, really appreciate your time. It's a sweet sweatsuit, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Moment of silence while I fall into character. Hey, I'm Frank Kaminsky. I've thrown a baseball 85 miles an hour. I've thrown a football 75 yards. Now I'm going to try to shoot some bows and arrows and throw some axes. I don't even know how to use this thing.
It's okay, that's what I'm here for.
I know you see that? That's like almost right there.
Yeah, pretty solid shot.
How many people are that good on their first shot?
Not too many, huh?
One love. You can see my pattern of getting worse. Like it was perfect in the beginning, and then progressively just worse.
What I usually have the kids do is when they release, I have them say their favorite food. So in this case, you're gonna release and say pepperoni pizza.
Can I just yell grandma?
You could do that as well.
Grandma! Grandma! I didn't even have to say grandma on that one. I am one with the universe. I'm ready for the real thing. Put me into the battle. Ooh. I'm going for the thing in the middle, number 5.
Number 5, all right.
Wait, did you get number 5, like right in the middle?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
You got the bear, but you didn't get my favorite.
What'd you hit?
I got the 11 on each one of them.
What's 11?
It goes 11, 10, 8, 5.
And you get points?
Yeah.
So I got 0.
You got 5, because you hit it.
Oh, I get 5 for hitting it?
Yeah. But I got 11.
Well, I see that.
I got an 11 again. And
I did good though.
you did good.
I got 2 8s on the bear.
The teddy bear is dead.
Were you this good when you first started? I could become a master.
I think I stick to the best one.
She's not very nice about this. Can I go throw axes now?
Yes.
Yes.
So you're gonna come straight up and straight down, and it's just gonna slide. There it is.
No, I hit the wood. Grandma!
I'm not gonna lie to you, you have picked this up faster than I think I've seen anyone pick this up.
This is different than pretty much any throw you've ever been taught. Don't flick forward and don't cross. See that? Go ahead and give it a shot. Awesome. Scoot up a little bit more.
This is hard. Come on, stick in the wall. Be the knife.
You see how your wrist is there? Start here. Straight up.
Whoa! Got it.
Good job.
Grandma. Oh, hell yeah! Good shot. This one looks like it needs some more safety rules. I'm nervous.
Don't be.
Holy This isn't going well. I'm gonna break this whole thing.
You actually did.
Oh! Oh, I'm sorry.
That was it.
I wrote Grandma broke this. I actually want to buy a bow and arrow now. If any NBA player thinks they're a better bow and arrow shooter or hatchet thrower, I'd like to see them try. I'm a champion.
Anything you want to say to the little kids who were talking shit to
Yeah,
you?
those kids are, they got another thing coming.
I beat you. Hey, whoa, what's this? I can't, what's this?
That's not yours.
That's mine.
You got better arrows than I do. I hit a bullseye on my first one ever. You should have seen it.
I'm pretty sure it's amazing.
So they only saw me shoot the bow and arrow. They didn't see me throw the double-sided axe.
That was it.
So they probably won't say anything anymore.